welcome to Concussion Podcast. This is episode 119. I'm talking to Daniel Carcello of Wesana Health and also formerly of Chicago Blackhawks and other NHL teams. And so I guess I'm not going to name them all, but he won two Stanley Cups there. So I named Chicago. But I'd like to also thank my sponsor, HeadCheck Health. Concussion Talk Podcast is presented by HeadCheck Health. HeadCheck Health bridges the gaps in concussion care through simple, powerful technology. Join organizations like the Canadian Football League, Track Factory Racing, the Canadian Junior Hockey League, Eastern Washington University, and Volleyball Canada, who rely on HeadCheck Health to improve communication and optimize care. Visit headcheckhealth.com for more. And after HeadCheck, I'd also like to just remind everybody to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Concussion Talk, and on TikTok for now, and patreon.com at patreon.com/concussion talk. concussiontalk.com is my website. And now I'll get right to the interview. So thank you so much, Daniel, for doing this interview. And I guess first off, we're talking about brain injury and concussion. So that's why you founded this Wesana Health. But what led you to that? Like, what your background is? Obviously a hockey player, so I'll let you talk about your history in hockey and concussions.
Yeah, for sure. First off, Nick, thanks for having me on, man, and talking and continuing to raise awareness through your platform. Appreciate it. I'm sure survivors appreciate it. So yeah, a little bit about me. I played a 12-year pro career, 9 in the NHL, and then was forced into early retirement in 2015 after my 7th diagnosed concussion.
Wow.
And it's just dealing with the multitude of symptoms that concussion brings on, or brain injury, slurred speech, headache, head pressure, insomnia, impulse control issues, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, memory issues, appetite issues, pretty good constellation. And I was a pretty severely bad case. Felt like, early onset dementia. But I've spent the last 8 years just researching after I retired and reading and trying different therapies to see how I could, eventually find a cure and then manage symptomology as I was looking for that. Certain things helped. And then, I found something that, evolves naturally in nature and fits into our serotonin receptors like a lock and key. And that seemed to really work and take away a lot of my symptomology pretty quickly the last 3 years. And then, eventually when I basically tracked myself with QEEGs, blood work, and some science to back up anecdotally.
What are QEEGs?
So QEEGs are a device used, have you ever seen anyone wearing those caps?
Yeah.
Those Yeah, and they just measure the electrical waves of your brain communicating between the 6 different hemispheres.
Okay.
So we have 6 different parts of our brain, and it can tell you if, say, your frontal lobes are off or not communicating well. And then you can pinpoint the areas in your brain that you want to target for rehab, because language lives in a very specific part, problem solving, creativity, these types of things, we know where they live. So if you know that that's damaged or there's symptomology there, then you can use exercises or supplementation to excite those areas again. And I'm sure you've heard the term of neuroplasticity. Make these work around neural networks that can get your brain operating at some type of normal level capacity. So, for 5 years, I was taking those tests every 6 months, trying different things and then after 6 months would take it again to see if those exercises for those 6 months were working. And I did it with these compounds that I started using. And, after 6 months for the first time in 5.5 years, it came back with no abnormalities. So then I really started to research like what CBD was doing, what, psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, was doing for me. Realized quickly that, psilocybin specifically is FDA approved for a breakthrough therapy designation by 2 companies. So that kind of made me feel a little bit more comfortable. And then CBD is an approved FDA medicine. So that made me feel really comfortable. And, once I found this personal recovery and backed it up with science, I started, Wesana, and started to take these regimens through a drug development pathway.
So you felt this is also to help others in your teammates and your other friends who have suffered from concussion. Like you found that it's not just applicable just to Daniel Casillo, it's applicable. It's applicable to everyone.
No, I think I've been put on this earth for a very specific reason. It wasn't to slap a puck in a net, but that was part of the journey of getting sick, to be able to then get well and show people and be some sort of beacon of hope for, traumatic brain injury survivors that don't have anywhere to turn to as far as an FDA approved medication that won't exacerbate symptoms or suicidality. And that is what I've found and what I've developed and what we are developing through the FDA. We've already communicated with them. So mainly it's to provide hope, man, to millions of people that there's something that can come that can help us recover our quality of life, brain health, and then accelerate and get even better than we were before we got sick.
And you were saying that they help you recover. You also have, I noticed your Wesana has a therapist on staff, so you're doing a lot of just not necessarily talk therapy, but you are doing talk therapy, but just other just overall health of mental and your energy, physical symptoms you feel, such as fatigue and headaches and those sort of and surge speech, like those physical ailments are also aided by your talk therapy and like your just more safe psychology and psychiatry. So can you talk about the mental health aspect of it as well as just the brain, as well as the brain injury aspect of it?
Yeah. So with the FDA, I can't actually look at my underlying pathology first to prove to them that the reason I don't have symptoms is because I've cured that. Eventually I will. So there's something called primary endpoints and then secondary endpoints. So when you talk about developing a medicine, you first look at primary endpoints. You pick an indication that the FDA knows and is comfortable with, so that you can give yourself the best shot at approval. So what do they know? They know major depressive disorder. There's very well-defined endpoints for that. Right. And then you treat that symptom of traumatic brain injury. So it's TBI related major depressive disorder. Inherently, I know personally, and there's tens of thousands of anecdotal stories where people will, get the benefit of the pathology. And so what you want to try to do is get a secondary endpoint like QEEG to show them that there is something more going on in the brain as far as these pathways go and this neuronal crosstalk. And then eventually, get to a point where you could show efficacy in both. So you can go for the actual underlying pathology of what happens to our brain when we get hit in the head.
Right. And so you said you suffered 7 concussions while playing professional hockey, or just hockey in general?
Played pro for 12 years, nine in the NHL. Yep.
But 7 of those concussions were in just your whole hockey career?
All in the NHL.
On the NHL?
Yep, all in the NHL. Two at the end of my career, 3 early on.
Do you remember the first one or any one specific one that you got hit in the head or hit and knocked down? You thought, I'm not feeling right. This is something I really got to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, the research shows it's not just the ones that get diagnosed; it's the subconcussive hits that can affect you. So I don't actually remember the first five that well. I do remember the last two towards the end of my career. So, and then it just brought on symptoms, more intense symptoms, more intense anxiety, balance issues, insomnia issues. And I just knew, I'm not going to be able to continue on doing my job. And I had to just make a decision for myself and for my family to try to walk away and get healthy.
And when you, or if you told your team doctors or trainers that you weren't feeling right, or you're giving evidence like the balance was off, that you weren't right to your trainers, did they give me any tips of what to do, or any idea of what to do? Or
no, with concussion, like the protocol in the NHL is archaic to say the least, and the instruction you get is just go home, rest, and when you don't have symptoms, come back to the rink, and then you can start like on a bike and doing tests, and if that doesn't make your symptoms worse, then you're essentially cleared to play.
So and also I was just going to ask you about this new FDA approved the first stage of this, or step of this drug, this Sana 10, is it?
Yeah, Sana. Yep, Sana 13.
Sana 13, number. Sana 13. So what's that about? What's the deal behind that?
Yeah, so that's the patented protocol that I came up with over the last 3 years to regain my brain health and quality of life using high doses of psilocybin and low doses of psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, in combination with CBD, which is a patented neuroprotectant. Okay. What you do in drug development is, secure intellectual property, which is novel and inventive, and then you can raise money and go through this FDA process to show efficacy, or show that this protocol and this drug works for TBI related symptoms.
So when did you actually first notice that psilocybin magic mushrooms, or the actual aid they really help you? Either if you noticed that CBD helped you, or you noticed that psilocybin helped you. When did you just happen to find them, or or some doctor or therapist say try these and help?
No, I mean, I had to seek it out because I was I just had to recover my life. I was suicidal, and there wasn't anything more that doctors could do for me. I spent 5 years and $400,000 trying to get the best treatments available, and they didn't work for me. So it was out of a necessity and a need. And luckily, within like the first 2 weeks after a really high dose, I started to get better quickly. Symptoms pretty much lessened in intensity and started to fall away. I was sleeping better. The slurred speech went away pretty quickly with the light sensitivity. And then certain things were still there and lingered, but I also know nothing gets fixed in 5 hours. So we made a regimen of like this microdose so that I can continue on with this therapy. And 6 months in, I probably could have tested myself 3 months in. Everybody noticed it. My face totally changed, a bunch of different things. And at 6 months, I wanted to back it up with science. And once I had that, it was an aha moment that I think, well, now I need to figure out how to get this to millions of people.
And getting more personal, I don't want to be personal, but concussion. What were your main symptoms that you personally felt were just really just affecting your life to the extent that you just had to? It was imperative that you get help? Or
yeah, mostly like the head pressure. The insomnia was really bad. My memory issues were really bad short term, not necessarily long term. My appetite was terrible, so I'd lost a lot of weight. My brain fog, brain fatigue was
Yeah.
bad, so really low energy. And anxiety, depression was up there too, increasingly getting worse. So, I had a multitude of symptoms. A good day would be 5, a bad day would be 10, and just needed to figure it out as quickly as possible.
I found because I had a coma, the more severe TBI, but I've noticed a lot of people talk about issues that they have faced after their concussions, multiple concussions, really that really resonate with me from when I woke up from my coma. But I don't have didn't have the memory of of a lot of stuff that I went through, probably because I was still drugged up from coming out of a coma. But so I don't remember much it, but because I was out for basically a month. Um, but did you find that eye symptoms kind of with this psilocybin kind of were not cured, treated in tandem, or were they treated like one you take psilocybin one day you feel better, your headache should be less, or your insomnia be better, and then you take it the next day and you feel that your balance improved and your mental or anxiety or depression improved? Did you find it all kind of just eased gently by itself? Not by itself, but
Yeah, I mean, like when I did a high dose, right,
yeah,
which includes like a preparation and integration session because you do hallucinate, things started to fall away really fast. And then I just continued on. I know that I have a lot of damage, right? So nothing gets fixed in 5 hours. So you got to keep introducing this compound that fits into your serotonin system like a lock and key, and keep strengthening your receptors in your brain that are damaged and weakened or broken. And I just stayed extremely diligent and disciplined in the regimen. And then as I continued to do that, everything went away. I no longer suffer from any of those things. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. I actually feel the best I've ever felt in my life. That's a combination because I'm not taking hits, but it's also, I'm just the highest operating person that I've ever been. And that can happen for you, and that can
yeah,
happen for others as well.
yeah,
Like no doubt in my mind, for sure.
yeah. No, I mean, I know noticed myself taking a long time, but I feel now is the best I've ever felt, and it's just just for me, it was time really because of different circumstance, obviously, but
Mhm.
yeah, but so why did you call this health? Well, okay, first of all, well, yes, with multiple part question, why did you start? Was it Wesana, and why did you call it Wesana?
Yeah, so sauna is heal in Latin.
Yeah.
And then we heal together as a
Okay.
TBI community, right? We share information and we do things like this and pass on things that work, things that don't work because they could work for others.
Yeah.
So that was a big reason for the name.
Okay. And why did you decide that for you was going to be, it was health, it was like the health company that you wanted to start that you thought was the best method for you, instead of using your name to get your word out, you started, I guess, start a company that really does some stuff that doesn't make, like, designs drugs and promotes health and therapies? Did you decide, why did you decide that and not just Twitter or Facebook or podcast?
Because, when we go to the doctor, we need a diagnosis, and then we need to have a prescription written, and then we need to take a medication home. And the only way to do that and get that approved is to do rigorous scientific trials to prove that your medication works and that it's very safe. So I chose to go down this drug development path, which I think is just, it's not, it's the only way to develop drugs, you
Yeah.
know?
So I've been looking on your website and the board looks impressive. So do you want to talk about briefly about your board, not briefly, but about your board and the research wing in particular of doing this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the board expands with people like from my co-founder, Chad Bronstein, who's instrumental in founding the company with me and putting business and capital infrastructure behind it. And then It's also has George Steinbrenner IV because mental health is stigmatized along with these, medicines. So using the athletic platform, like people like Mike Tyson, who's a strategic advisor, and Juliana Pena is going to be really important. And then Robert Kaufman, the 32-year career psychiatrist turned, psychedelic psychotherapist, headed up Walter Reed's Medical Center and is a, former Navy vet himself. Sees a lot of benefit in these medicines, so he took a seat. And we have Mitch Kahn, who knows how to operate a business in highly regulated markets and sold, grassroots secure leaf for over $1 billion. And then Ian Bernstein, who was also instrumental early on in helping with capital raises and infrastructure. So, you want to add people to the board that are going to add a lot of value, and most doubtably, those people have added a ton of value for us.
When do you hope that this new Sonnet 13, Sonnet 13 will when's the goal that's shown on their website? So I'm not talking to school.
Yeah, so it's about 3 to 4 years for commercialization, and to get to, past phase 3.
Okay. And you just started like last year, 2 years, or you have been going on this for a while?
We're about 1.5 to 2 years in. And we're still in preclinical, but we hope to open the IND, which is an investigational new drug application with the FDA by Q4 of this year.
Okay, so that's great. So now, how can, I guess now it's up to people to find you on your website and on just find you on whatever platform you want to reach on. So where can they do that?
Yeah, so we just launched a new website, wesanahealth.com. Wesana Health on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then I'm Daniel Carcillo 13 on Instagram, Carbon Boom 13 on Twitter, and LinkedIn's just Daniel Carcillo, Facebook as well. So that's where everyone can find us.
Oh, great! And is there anything else you wanted to mention about your company or about your hockey career or new athletic endeavors?
Yeah, no, I just grateful for you having me on, and for continuing to raise awareness for this really important topic. And anything that I can do for you or your listeners or the community, I'm willing to do.
Great, thanks. Well, thanks so much, Daniel.
Thanks, Nick.
Music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound, www.bensound.com.